Hey everybody, it's Femtrooper, and today I'm going to be doing a review on Yokai Watch for the 3DS. So first of all, I want to say that I had been waiting for Yokai Watch to come out ever since I saw a hint of it in Japan. I was so excited because I really like Pokemon and I really like JRPGs, and it was a combination of both. And I also really like cel-shaded graphics, and I really like games set in a modern day setting. So it had all of that, and I was really excited to hear that it was finally getting a Western release and a physical release too. So I finally went and picked this up back when it came out in November, and I was so excited. And we are going to talk about all the things that are good and all the things that are bad about Yokai Watch, because it is not a perfect game, but it does give Pokemon some things to think about that hopefully Pokemon will change in the future. So first, let's talk about the story in this game. It's very simplistic, similar to Pokemon that way, very young, but that's what it is. You're a little kid, you're collecting bugs, you accidentally run into or find a yokai named Whisper, and he basically teaches you all about the yokai world, gives you this thing called a yokai watch, which basically allows you to see yokai. So basically what yokai are is they're kind of like ghosts slash mythical creatures. It's kind of a weird concept. This is, again, a cultural concept. This is something that's very much apparent in Japan, but doesn't translate as much to, say, Western culture. But a lot of them, you can tell they were alive once, but now they've become a yokai, and usually something about them, like maybe something almost like, unfinished business with ghosts, that concept applies, and so they'll have some kind of unfinished business, and then they're walking around town causing mayhem and mischief, and you have to solve it. So, for example, you'll notice that one of your friends in the game is, say, forgetful, and it's actually because a yokai is, putting a spell on them, and so you have to, fight the yokai and make the yokai sort of happy again and stop doing all the mischief and causing all the mischief. So they're kind of like ghosts causing mischief, but they're not like ghosts. So it's a really weird concept. You just have to play it and see what's going on. But basically anything weird that's going on is usually explainable by a yokai. As far as the actual story goes in this game, though, now that you kind of know the background of what's going on here, not much. You basically meet friends with different yokai. You solve little, it's very quest kind of, very episodic. So the only way I can describe it is lots of anime that have hundreds and hundreds of episodes, they have a lot of filler. So you'll watch an episode, something really interesting happens to further the story, and then you'll go 10 episodes and nothing happens at all to further the story. Best example, again, is Pokemon. It's similar to that. In the Pokemon anime, the characters will do something and it's crazy and advances the story, and then 10 episodes go by and nothing really happens. They just kind of meet a Pokemon every single episode. It's very similar to that. It very much plays out like episodes. So something will happen, or you'll notice, I don't know, there's something going on at the corner over there, and then you have to find out, no, it turns out it's a yokai haunting that area, and then you solve it, you become the yokai's friend, and then the chapter ends, and then you basically do the same thing over and over and over again. Something's going on down at the riverbank, and then you go and solve it, but it's not exactly a story, it's just sort of questy kind of stuff going on, kind of like an anime in an episode way. Nothing that's really advancing the story, it's just kind of, you're just doing stuff to do stuff. Now, that kind of story slash gameplay is not bad per se, but JRPGs essentially really revolve around story and character development and all this stuff. So when it doesn't have that, it's a little bit of a disappointment, because I really thought there was going to be this crazy story with all these yokai, and it doesn't really have that. It's so slightly disappointing story-wise. There pretty much is no story. There is something, but again, it happens every, 5 chapters per se, kind of thing. So this story is so weird that it actually has chapters. It'll say chapter 2, and then something's going down at the museum, and you have to figure out why. But it has nothing to do with the story at all. So you're basically doing all these different quests until, one big chunk of the story happens. But that only happens very not very often. So it's one of those games where not a lot's going on. So there is a story essentially, but it's so small and not a big part of the game that there kind of isn't a story. I found this game to be pretty tedious that way, because again, you're just kind of doing quest after quest after quest. People who really like stuff like that, or fetch quest kind of stuff, they might really enjoy this aspect of the game. But I really like a progression and story, kind of like a big overall quest, kind of like an epic story, something going on where you progress from town to town and you meet different characters and all this stuff. That's not really going on here, so that was a little bit of a letdown. Now, one redeeming quality about this game that was really, really good is the actual battle system, the gameplay itself. It's actually really well done. Very different. It's not the normal turn-based type, but it's not action either. So basically, it's very similar to Final Fantasy 13, in which you're overseeing the battle. You're not really giving each different character something to do, like in Pokemon, where you actually pick which attack they end up carrying out. This is a lot different. You're kind of overseeing. So it's actually a wheel, and it's very, very touchscreen oriented. So if you don't like that, get ready. There's a lot of touchscreen stuff going on. So get out that stylus, because you do use it a ton. Basically, each character you have in your party, you can have 6. You can turn the wheel around, so you can have 3 out at once. And if something's going on, you could spin the wheel around and put the next 3 characters out. And if something happens, you have to purify your yokai, which basically means that they can't produce like this kind of ultimate attack, which is a Soultimate attack. And then you have to purify. So you have to do something. So you'll select purify, and then you'll have to do something like trace an outline, spin something really fast. So it's very, very touch screen oriented. I mean, you do need the stylus. It'd probably be really annoying if you just used your finger. But yeah, you kind of oversee this battle. You're kind of like guiding it, very similar to Final Fantasy 13. So just a heads up, but it was really cool. I really like the battle system in this. It was actually really fun, constantly spinning the wheel and doing things and putting different people out, and it was actually really cool. So I actually thought the battle system was excellent in this game. It was something refreshing, something that maybe could be incorporated into, say, the Pokemon series, but yes, I really like the battle system. Now, another positive note about this game was the music. It was phenomenal. I really liked it. It was very quirky, very kind of diminished vibes, tones, kind of silly, creepy, I guess would be the best way to explain it. But because I like scores so much, I was so hyped that this one was such a good one. Already the main theme is just so exciting. And I'm not talking about the dumb English theme it gives you, because you actually couldn't play this game in Japanese, which is really upset about, because I really like the Japanese voices that I'd heard from just looking up stuff online, and then there's no option for Japanese. It was only English, which was kind of disappointing, but it doesn't matter a ton, because it's not that, there's not that many sort of voice acting scenes. But besides that, the music was really good. So if you like quirky, creepy, ghost kind of music, I guess would be the best way to describe it, this is perfect. Lastly, we'll talk about the graphics, and the graphics were amazing. I have really no complaints about the graphics. The way they did this game is something that Pokemon needs to definitely take note, please, because the Pokemon series hasn't changed a lot, and it's almost like they know they can sell games, so they don't change a ton, and this is definitely something they need to look into. So Yokai Watch takes place sort of in one town, and as you progress the story, you go from different neighborhood to neighborhood. So instead of, say, another game where you go from town to town, this is neighborhood to neighborhood. So you just stay within the same city. So there's like a downtown area, different suburbs, that kind of thing, which is neat, but I didn't like it in the sense where I wanted a different change of scenery. I wanted something new. I wanted to go to a different town. Yeah, this one, it was just kind of different neighborhoods, and everything does start looking the same. However, everything looks really good, and the detail is phenomenal. So when you go in a store or a convenience stores, they look very similar to 7-Eleven, and it was like, wow, they really put a lot of effort into this. Like, really good. The roads, the signs, little alleyways, everything. So if Pokemon put that kind of effort, or any other RPGs for that matter, into, what towns actually look like, wow, I would be very impressed, because some of these games, you go to a town and there's like 5 places. This was like a massive metropolis. It almost got overwhelming. So it's sort of like there's pros and cons to doing it this way. I would personally like to see it where they expanded it, where you actually had to go more on a journey as opposed to just solving little quests in your suburb. But again, it is aimed at kids, and It's a different kind of game than Pokemon, and I shouldn't compare it, but I am because it's very similar. As far as collecting yokai, which you can do, I could care less because it's just an aspect that I just don't care about. I basically kept 6 of the, 6 yokai that I kind of got from the very start and just went with those guys because I just didn't care about making new yokai friends and all this, so not a thing that I was into. But if you are into collecting stuff, then you're going to really enjoy this because you can just go everywhere. And that's one thing that also I have to say about this game. There are tons of places that have nothing to do with the story that you can just go. There's little caves, you can go to the forest and find all sorts of pathways that lead to all sorts of things, and they have nothing to do with the story. So this is very exploration heavy if you want it to be. Again, not for me personally, but if you do, want to go down different alleys and take different places and go in the sewers and all that stuff, it usually has nothing to do with the story. You can just go there. So if you like battling, leveling up, yeah, there's a lot here for you. Overall, this game is pretty good. I would say that it's not the best game, but I would also say it's not the worst game. I had a lot of really high expectations for this, so it kind of let me down a bit, but I still would recommend buying this because it is something really cool. It's very Japanese, and when I say that, it's just everything in the game, the way the towns look, the sort of mythical aspect of it. It's very, Eastern religion kind of inspired. I think that's really cool, and I want to support stuff like that coming to the West. But at the same time, it was very tedious. It is very young. Sometimes I try and pretend that I'm not getting older, but stuff like this is just not as appealing to me as, say, it would have been when I was, say, 10. And now, looking at this, I go, oh my god, if this had come out and I was 10 years old or 9 years old or whatever, I would have just been all over it. I would want Yokai Watch everything. So it's kind of neat playing this as an adult and trying to imagine yourself liking it as a kid, because I know I would have, but it's a little teensy bit young for me. The dialogue, the way the characters are acting, their interests, everything like that, it's kind of young, but at the same time, there's a lot here that's fun. The gameplay, I love the battle system, the graphics are phenomenal, the music was so good. So yeah, there's a lot here. So I still recommend it, but if you're into really hardcore stuff, this is maybe a pass. But again, if you like Pokemon, you like the whimsical stuff, you actually may like this, and it's definitely worth a shot. I still recommend it, even though there are some, cons to it. There's pros as well, but there are definitely some negatives. So that's basically everything I have to say about Yokai Watch. Please go and check it out. See what you think as opposed to what I thought. I'm curious. If you already played it, please let me know. And don't forget to comment, click like on this video, and please subscribe. Means a lot to me. And I'll see you guys later.